Lynn. Nice talking to you today.
Hi, Karel. Great to be here. For those tuning in for the first time, welcome to the first BESTMIX podcast at BESTMIX Software. Maybe a first small introduction who BESTMIX Software is. We provide innovative software solutions for the feed, pet food, premix, and trading industry. And we focus on optimization, automation, formulation, and nowadays also a big topic in the industry, which is sustainability. And today we will be diving into a topic about the pet food industry. And we are seeing some trends and evolutions that we want to talk about in this podcast. Before we introduce this team in this podcast, let me first introduce myself. So my name is Lynn Verstrepen. I'm in fact an environmental engineer, but I started working in the IT industry since my first working day. I did fell in love from the first day. You remember that still, Karel? And what I like about it is that I can combine, in fact, a bit the engineering background that you learn at school with designing software. But like I said already, we focus also on sustainability. So the two passions come together. So happy to do this at BESTMIX Software. And now I work here already for 12 years. And my current function is that I'm the director of the product management department. And what do you do, Karel, at BESTMIX Software?
Well, I've been working now for this company. Well, I've never worked for any other company than this one my entire life. So I've been doing this, been working for this company over 26 years already. Why did I stay? Why did I join? I can't really remember, but why I just love working for this company and especially for this industry and this product that I'm really proud of what we do here. I'm really proud of what we make. And yeah, like Lynn, I'm also an environmental engineer. It's a coincidence, but it is the fact. So I also really like the engineering part. So the creation of listening to customers, listening to the industry, working on new features, trying to figure out the best approach, how to solve important issues for our customers, how to solve that with software. Yeah, that's something that I've been doing now already a very long time, and that's also what keeps me going in this industry. And in this company. So that's for an introduction.
Yeah.
About today's podcast, let's say we want to talk today about a bit more about the pet food industry. So Lynn, I would like to hear your vision on the pet food industry, because yeah, you have been working last couple of years, you have been working quite intensively together with our pet food customers, and I know that you have been attending quite some important events over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, what are the major takeaways from those events and from your experience over the last couple of years that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, it has been a few events indeed. I think Pet Food Forum was the first event this year in the United States, but also Interzoo in Germany. As BESTMIX Software, we're also a partner of associations. So, for example, there was an event at BPEFA, the Belgian Pet Food Association. So the major takeaways a bit, what I see there is that, first of all, something that I love doing a lot, and that's networking, and not because it's pleasure, because I see a great benefit of doing this. What I recognize of it is that when you meet a lot of people of the industry, you really become familiar with the industry and you get to learn the industry inside out. You start building up relationships, you have a deeper understanding, and this leads to more meaningful conversations, but more collaborations as well. And for a company like BESTMIX Software, this is crucial, because if we want to be a thought leader, then we can act proactively on things. You know that we want to try to introduce new concepts in the industry, and without having these network opportunities or networking opportunities, we can't do this. So for example, also last time I presented on one of these events about AI, and I noticed that there was a lot of interest. So you see, doing these type of introductions and presentations, there is really a kind of demand for. So that was one of the things that, as a first thing really popped up in my mind, if you would ask me. And a second thing I think is the international context. Attendees come from all over the world. For example, Pet Food Forum in the United States, you would expect only United States is there, but it's not true. So I see the same people from Europe, and sometimes we joke about it, like see you next week in the one of in Europe. But it showcases, I think, how much international these companies themselves are and how much attention that they pay as well, of being there globally. And I think for a company as BESTMIX Software, this fits with our approach because we also, as a company, we want to be globally present. We want to build up that know-how in order that we can combine that with our solutions. So that is a good fit, a nice fit to see.
Yep.
And if you would ask me what kind of questions that we got a lot, more around automation. People are searching to automate processes, to streamline operations, reducing human errors, you could say. Even sometimes you get the question, yeah, can I immediately implement AI? Well, nothing is automated yet. They're using, for example, Excel. So it's going from a small step towards a big step already. And then I think, okay, I understand your question and where you want to go towards to, but of course there are some steps in between that you need to take. But yeah, that general interest is there. I think it's also very beneficial for the industry to automate more. And a final thing, it was already last year the case, but also insects. You see a lot of products with insects, a lot of buzz around it, in the pet food industry especially. And I know you also have some experience in that area. Why do you think, Karel, that insects are gaining, in fact, especially in the pet food industry, more attention and more embed in the products?
Well, I think looking at the insect industries, I think one of the most important things to realize is that in the current market, and that does not only has to do with pet food, but that's in let's say in everything that is about animal feeding. There is a huge trend where people are trying to shift from human edible protein sources towards non-human edible protein sources. And the reason is very simple. I mean, we need to do that in order to feed the planet. Where the world population is growing, we need to feed more people with the same amount of resources. So there is a shift from, we need to shift. We need to provide animals with protein sources that we cannot or will not eat. And we need to provide, and therefore, leaving the human edible protein for ourselves. So that's a very important thing to notice because, insects, they are a very good protein source. They are very, from the nutritional point of view, whether you take a black soldier fly or you take a mealworm, doesn't really matter. They are excellent protein sources. They provide high quality nutrition compared to the traditional human edible protein sources. So that's a second topic that is very important. Thirdly, and that's also what we experience in the business that we do with our customers, but also with players in the insect industry. There is an increased availability. And 5 years ago, if you would want to use insect as a protein source for producing pet food or feed or even for human consumption, sometimes in some areas of the world, I mean, there was just not that much available. Nowadays, people are also looking, how can we grow protein to feed the animal supply chain, pet food or feed? We need space. And the typical human edible protein sources like soy, like corn, they require a lot of space. Cultivating insects in big towers in a very artificial way, you don't need a lot of space, and they are these insects, they are an excellent converter of waste streams into useful protein in a very efficient and in a very performant way, consuming not a lot of space. Coming with that is, of course, even if we would be, let's say, even if we would say that our dogs and our cats, that they can grow and that they can feed off insects just as easily as they would do out of human edible protein sources, yeah, still we need the government to comply. If the government says no, yeah, then it is no. We can do what we want, but then we cannot do that. But
Sure.
fortunately, and there we really see that the pet food industry is yeah, how to call it, is a front runner in the
Yeah,
whole
correct.
topic of feeding insects. Yeah, you see that feeding cats, dogs, and other pet food using many types of protein sources that are insect based or that are just insect is just allowed in the industry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is allowed, so it is available, and it's a very good protein source. And it comes at an interesting price as well. So those are already four pluses, let's say, that I would like to mention. And then, yeah, the last one, and you mentioned it also in your intro. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Sustainability.
because we grow them on waste streams, and because they do not consume a lot of energy and they don't consume a lot of space and they don't consume a lot of water and whatever, yeah, also from the sustainability point of view, if you look at greenhouse gas emissions, but also other environmental parameters, and with our background, we do have to care a
Mm-hmm.
bit about the
Yeah,
environment.
that's
Yeah, I
true.
mean, insects are one of the most sustainable energy, protein, raw material sources that we have. So I think if you all combine that, I think, yeah, we see an upward trend in using insects in the pet food and in the feed industry as a general. And I think, yeah, that's a trend that is going to continue in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sustainability. I like the topic and that it's more now on the surface present. Um, Insects is then a bit more present in the pet food industry, but if we then look from software point of view, we see already more steps in the feed industry, right?
Yeah,
Because we
true.
have tools like Optinix from Chemovator from BASF or Sustel from DSM, and also working on the My Feedprint of Nutreco nowadays. Um, but what I like about it is that, okay, we do have more steps already done in the feed industry from integration point of view and from database point of view of data that is accessible. But there is also a growing demand in the pet food industry. They want to calculate the environmental footprint of their pet food diets. And the only thing that is a bit lacking, in fact, is a standardized data set. Because what's different between feed and pet food is that, yeah, in pet food, you have premium meat cuts, organ meat, for example. And these kind of data sets are not yet available in a database like GFLI. And we do often presentations about sustainability at associations, and we always say, yeah, you need to compare apples with apples and not apples with pears. I don't know if in English even you say it like that, but Dutch speaking people
Everybody will understand.
will understand. So we always recommend, yeah, work with a standardized data set, because then you have trusted data, it's certified. Because if you have your own LCA data, yeah, how did you do it, and which method did you apply? It could be different, and then you can claim whatever you want. But what I noticed now the last couple of months, in fact, is that we do go towards a more hybrid situation where they do start, or where they do want to start with these databases of GFLI, and that they want to extend the data set with data that they have then on those organ meat ingredients, for example. So steps are coming, but I'm looking forward to a bit more standardized data coming from the industry itself. So there, I think as a software house, we need to try to promote this still, that the industry comes together to set this up.
Yeah. Well, we can certainly talk to our partners about this. So I think they
Yeah,
will also be interested in having or in playing their role in this
true.
process.
Yeah.
Well, now in the beginning, you also talked about the international character of the events that you joined, and you also say you really like it because you see a lot of people from Europe, from the US, from Asia, and so on. We know from the feed industry, we know that working more and more international also means that there is also a trend towards globalization, centralization, sharing more information, working together on knowledge, on innovation, on formulation, and so on. And is that also something that you notice now in the pet food industry, that you think people are really, using the internationalization also to let's say to start working more on a globalized, centralized concept?
Yeah, it's something where you also get a lot of questions about. I think having a centralized system like our solution plays such a big, crucial role, because what you want to achieve is you want to have your global standards without losing touch with the local specialities or the local practices, let's say. So you need a kind of flexible system that you can do the centralization because you want to have the single overview of everything and make sure that you roll out in a standard way, but you still want to maintain the quality and you want to meet the regulatory requirements that are locally applicable. So you do see that this is going more and more as a trend. You also have a bit more bigger players that buy really local plants. So they want to still have the benefit of the centralized system, but with their local plants attached to it. And then I think not only centralization of data plays a role there in the globalization part, but also how software looks and how easy software is. Because if you are a bigger player and you have more and more different plans that you attach to your system, the more important and how crucial it is also that you can roll out in a very efficient and a quick way. You don't want to spend days, weeks in teaching them how to work via your standard practices. So if you have done a kind of system that allows to do this, that's massive of impact what you can achieve there. So I'm happy that also from BESTMIX point of view, we do the same. We focus also on globalization, everything that we make. We follow a bit the same trend as we see in the industry, that we want to support this. And talking about support, also customer service and how you consultants team is oriented for the customers is also important, because the know-how is not everywhere the same. For example, if you look to legislation point of view, VDAF is in Europe, AFCO is in the US. You need to know what the differences are, and sometimes small differences have a huge impact how you set up kind of functionalities and standard practices. So I think a customer service team and a consultancy team, they should know the global standards, but they need to be able to apply also local support and understand the specific needs of each market. And I'm very happy that we can offer this with BESTMIX, of course. And in general, you see also the business growing in pet food industry for us. And I'm also pretty sure that the functionality that we on a regular basis deploy towards our customers has to do something with that. And if you need to pick like your favorite functionalities or features that you talk a lot about with those customers, what would that be, for example?
I think when you look at or when I'm running around in this business already quite a bit, and I can easily compare, let's say, the feed industry to the pet food industry. Then I think the way, the structure of a recipe or a formula or a product, or how you want to call it, then the structure of a recipe in the pet food industry is way more complex. It does not necessarily contain more ingredients or more constraints, but the bill of material is more complex, because you are looking to a pet food recipe from a multi-level kind of hierarchy. You have the main recipe, which is the pet food itself, and then it has different subcomponents that each on their own have their own entity and that have their own requirements and their own quality specs. And what I really like about BESTMIX is that we can really visualize all of that together. It offers the user, it offers him complete insight in the total scope of the pet food without losing sight of the different subcomponents, and whether these subcomponents are now pre-configured mixtures or vitamin mixes or mineral mixes, or it's just part of the process that they need to do separately. I think that multi-level view is one of the key visual components that really strikes let's say the formulators and the nutritionists and the people really working on a day-to-day basis with pet food. That's one of the primary things. Secondly, I think what you see also is that we were talking, or you were talking about different guidelines and different regulations that are present in the pet food industry, whether it's now AFCO or FEDIAF in the US or in Europe. I mean, these are, I wouldn't say hard rules, but they are pretty strict guidelines on what and how to feed pet food in the proper way in different regions of the world. The fact that we have a flexible engine where first of all we configured those regulations inside the software, so it's no worries for our customers. I mean, they just plug and play and we provide them and we keep up to date those guidelines from the government. But moreover, what you also specified, yeah, those are, let's say, US guidelines or Europe guidelines. But if you want to add your local flavors to that, so offering as a company, yeah, extra knowledge on how to feed with specific innovations that you've done or implementing specific research in the software, yeah, we have a flexible way of modeling that in the software. I also think, yeah, from the automation and managing and the control point of view, especially in bigger companies where you really want to spread that knowledge across different sites, I think that also adds a lot of value. One very, it might seem nothing, but I think it's a very important thing, is managing moisture content.
It's because important. Costs a lot of money, yeah?
Yeah. People think, yeah, I mean, just adding that the fact that you can indicate that you can evaporate or that you can add moisture loss to 90%, 92% dry matter, yeah, that's only a tiny field. But what goes behind that is the massive amount of money that you can save by working, yeah, by really delivering the quality that you want. Plus, yeah, you have a certain production process with an extrusion process, probably especially in the dry pet food area, yeah, where you really want to control that moisture content, and doing that in an as efficient way as you possibly can. Yeah, I think that that's very important. So managing moisture, especially for the dry pet food, I think is another one of the top 5. Yeah, so we're almost at the top 5. I think also a very important one, way more important in pet food than in feed, is a claim. And a claim in the fact that, okay, what do I put on my product specification? I wouldn't call it the legal label, but it's the product specification. You promise something and the consumer will read it. Hey, I promise you 40%, 50% of meat in this pet food. Yeah, if you don't have tools to control that, to manage that, to ensure that, yeah, then it all relies on manual corrections, on manual checkups, on having very labor-intensive processes and procedures to control that. Where in BESTMIX, yeah, you put a constraint. You say, I always want my meat to be on top, and it should be at least 40%, and compared to what is on the declaration. And then BESTMIX does everything automatically, regardless which raw materials you are using, which kind of meat you are using, doesn't really matter. The optimization will make sure that the claim that you make on your label is warranted or is let's say is also realized during the optimization. And I think the last one, and that's slightly new, that's sustainability. And you've talked about it in the last topic, but I also think the fact that we can integrate with sustainability, because with pet food we go directly to the consumer, and the consumer is very, let's say, biased with global heating, global warming. Everybody's talking about that. So the fact that we can supply those figures in the product together whilst formulating the pet food, I think those 5, I think, and we have many more.
I was just gonna say.
If you think about, let's say, key differentiators, I think those would certainly be in my top 10. And I mentioned 5, but if we have another 2 hours for a podcast, then we can mention some others. Now, one thing, and that's for me, I'm not the specialist, so I'm gonna ask you, because I say optimizing claims, yeah, that's a real added value. But I was wondering, is optimization something that is done a lot in pet food, or is it more the manual kind of work that they are doing then?
It's a bit of a mix. I think you have a different type of companies. In Europe, I see most of the time optimization happening. In United States, most of the bigger players do this. But you also have kind of branding companies or like very small companies that even bake their cookies or their biscuits. And yeah, you can imagine they don't optimize. They have
Yeah.
just a static recipe.
Yeah.
It's also not that complex. But of course, as soon as you have a kind of larger company where you have the challenge of incoming goods and you have variability in those incoming goods, you need to be able to deal with these challenges, otherwise you lose money. So the bigger and complexer that story becomes, the more optimization comes into place. So I think there is a bit a world, two worlds there, and that's fine as well. It's not that everybody needs to do optimization, because as a software solution builder, there's also added value besides the optimization. If you want to generate a product specification in seconds instead of spending hours or even a day on it, that's also added value. And that's not even touching the optimization part yet.
Yeah.
Maybe some two trends that I noticed in this year more and more in pet foods. One of the trends is something that we noticed in the food industry. But if you then look to what kind of industry it is, it's not surprisingly, in fact, that it's also relevant for pet food. So we had last year a case that we did with a food customer, and they make sausages. So they deal with fresh meat cuts and stuff like that. A lot of variability in there. So you can already imagine, the batches that you get of your meat, there's so much variability in there that using an average to run your production run, that can have massive impacts on what you produce. And sometimes it's even more expensive to force your supplier to deliver within a spec than just dealing with the variability that you have coming in, and optimize production order per production order to take the right batches. So that was something that we noticed in the food industry, that the meat producing industry, that's really added value. And this year we had a lot of pet food now clients that also this topic came on the surface. So it's nice also to see that you also have overlap between the industries, and that's as a software house also very important. That's something that is unique to us. We look to food, pet food, and feed, and we bring the features and the functionalities together that can offer a lot of benefits for all those people. So dealing with these instead of averages, with the real batches from optimization, that's something new, I think, and will come more and more in the pet food industry. Because, the benefit is there, but you also need to deal in your warehouse with it. You need to be able to store your meat batches separately. If you can't do this and everything is just in one silo, forget about it.
You can't ignore the practical implementation.
No, and I see also it a bit more in the United States. There's a bit more room as well as in Europe. So maybe that's also a differentiator. And something which is also nice in optimization and rather new as well is a kind of shared kibble optimization that we notice in pet foods. Because often if you would buy bags of pet food, I don't know if you know this, if you see dog food, for example, often you have like a round shape, a triangle, different colors. These kind of kibbles inside, they are different end products, but they do mix those into bags. But that orange kibble is reused in different other end products. So the beauty is then that if you have that one orange kibble, let's optimize that to fit to the claims of different end products. And again, there you see a bit more advanced optimization technique. Not that everybody will do this, but there's something for everybody in the market, I would say. So interesting developments there.
Nice.
Looking to the time, we are talking already a while. Maybe a wrap up. Let's end our first podcast with talking about AI, because that's something that also in the events was asked a lot to me. What's your vision on artificial intelligence and what it can mean to the industry of pet food?
I compare it a little bit with sustainability. 5 years ago, everybody was talking about sustainability, and now everybody is doing something almost everybody is doing something with sustainability. If I look at AI, and of course, sustainability is something very practical, very visible. AI is more, it's more visionary, more a techie thing, but it's the same thing. Everybody is thinking about it. Everybody is speaking about it, and everybody's trying to find out because everybody seems to be thinking, yeah, I mean, if we're not doing something with
We
AI,
should
we
do
must
it.
be
Yeah.
doing, we're doing something wrong. If we're
Uh-huh.
not using it in our business, then what are we doing wrong? Because everybody seems to be doing it. Yeah, and of course that's, yeah, I think that's currently the phase that everybody is at.
Yeah.
Can we use it? I mean, also in our company, we are trying to find out, can we use it, yes or no, and in which department and in which implementation. And our customers, they are doing the same. They are trying to find out, are there certain business cases where we can use AI or machine learning or data science, because there's a lot of buzzwords, and it all comes together a little bit, and everybody is exploring and trying to find out what to be ready. And I think we are doing the same. We are
Yeah.
also exploring. We are also trying to get to some point of knowledge and to try to think of, can we think of business cases where we could help our customers in the implementation of pet food formulation. Yeah. And we've taken the first steps in not only in staffing, but also in some of the project. And I think, Lynn, you have even been involved in a small project at the customer. Maybe you can share some light on it to just showcase what the potential would be.
Yeah. First of all, what I like about it is that to be able to do something with AI, you need data, and we can't do anything without our customers. So the nice thing is that it also enforces our partnerships with our customers. So what we do is we set up kind of data projects with them to see, okay, if we use certain data that can be, for example, extruder measurements that we capture in quality control, and that we try to learn, okay, can we predict how we need to set a certain setting of a machine to have less rework. But we also look in formulation. How can we, for example, predict the composition based upon the requirements that you're asking from a nutritional point of view? And it's these kind of mini projects that I think the coming year or years will learn us what can it mean. What kind of real-time models could we embed in our software that maybe not any more than a human being will do, but will more, do a kind of interpretation of the result and see, okay, let's do this. But in the end, then we can use our know-how for more complex things that are not possible via machine learning. So I see a lot of nice future points here. But yeah, it's still open, and so it's also nice to see that we do different kind of projects. And I also think there is not one golden ticket to win everything there. So let's see what it brings. We do also a lot of presentations about it. So if you see us talking about it, then hopefully we can share some research results of these projects.
Yeah, maybe 5 years from now we do a podcast on what we have accomplished with AI.
That would be nice.
that would be something. That would be, we're also still there. So
yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the intention.
So I think, we are now a bit at the end of the first podcast of BESTMIX. So thank you very much for the chat, Karel, and talk to you soon again in our second podcast, which is in August. There we will have a guest speaker from Optinix. So we are talking about sustainability. Looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Talk to you again and see you in our next discussion.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.